prudent decision, that's what we need to consider. So again, economically, I think market can decide and regulators can decide that. So I'm not going to talk about that. I believe that actually even economically, against adding and ramping existing thermal plants, adding more flexible new storage technologies makes a lot more economic sense. But I want to raise a point on a fundamental level. We are going for these ambitious targets for renewables because we want a cleaner environment. And then if you end up ramping thermal plants for balancing this, then you are actually defeating the purpose for which you are adding renewables. Renewables were not selected because they were the cheapest energy sources when the national missions were set up. They were set up because we wanted cleaner power. And there are various studies which show that when you do the ramping of thermal plants for such renewable integration, you end up losing as much as 20% of the CO2 savings, but more importantly, you may lose as much as 100% of sulfur dioxide and NOx emission savings, which can come from adding renewables. And especially SOx and NOx has a bigger environmental impact on the local pollution. So particularly, I think state regulators needs to understand this and pay a very key attention to this area. At a big picture level, some of you may have heard about the California duck, which is shown on the top left curve, which was a 2013 California ISO has projected that with more solar coming in, you are going to have challenge of low peak during the day. So we have projected similar situation to arise in India. And this is the area where electric vehicles can actually start playing a key role with a sufficient charging infrastructure. If we can have various electric vehicles getting charged during the day, then that can provide actually a counterbalancing load to all the excess solar which is coming into the grid during the day. If we don't do that, and if everyone starts charging electric vehicles in the evening, then that is going to create more problem for the DISCOMs, and I'm sure my colleagues will address that. One of the biggest opportunity which is coming is solar plus storage, and here is a chart from Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory which shows various tenders which have been cleared in last few years. And again, as I said earlier, when you say RE plus storage, you can actually size storage in different capacity. So you can see that there are various tenders where the cost is like less than 2 cents per kilowatt hour or 2 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour for hybrid projects where you are adding only 10 or 15% storage, mainly for smoothing out or firming of renewable assets. Whereas there are projects on the right-hand side where the price is maybe 3 or 4 times high, but there these are projects in like island locations where they are putting a lot more storage of say 4, 6 or even bigger duration, and they are actually shifting renewable energy to other areas. So depending on your requirement, you may choose different. And if you see places like Andaman Nicobar, even at these type of prices, it could save the local utilities and central government more than 50% of the cost which they are incurring right now for running these islands on diesel generators. There are a number of tools, and yesterday we did actually a detailed case studies during the workshop. I won't go into too many details, but what is important is when you are looking at integrating solar plus storage, you need to understand your load profile, you need to understand your RE output, and then looking at that, you need to again decide how do you size the battery, what technology you choose, and how do you size it so that you are getting appropriate benefits. Overall, IESA does annual market projections. So our last year's projection, we showed that even the existing market was around 24 gigawatt hour, mainly dominated by lead acid batteries for backup applications. But going forward, we believe that with the suitable policy changes, the market can grow up to 65 gigawatt hour per year. On a worst case scenario, we are projecting it as a 38 gigawatt hour, so still almost 50% increase as compared to market as usual on an annualized basis. And total cumulatively, we expect this market between 2019 to 2026 to be more than 300 gigawatt hour as a base case level. The good part is we have some start in this area. PGCIL has demonstrated advanced lead acid and lithium ion batteries in a substation in Pondicherry, which were small projects of 0.5 megawatt each. But now Tata Power has also deployed a 10 megawatt hour project with AES in Delhi. And I'm sure Nilesh will share more details about that in his presentation. But around the world, these things are happening everywhere. But what I want you to highlight in this is, even in countries like US, you will notice certain red spots. These are the hubs for innovation. So what I want to emphasize is, individual state regulators actually have a lot more power in their hand, where you don't have to keep on waiting just for national regulators or central government to act. The state regulators, with their power in their hand, actually can fuel a lot of deployment in their local region. And we have seen that in US happening in both New York as well as California. So right now we are trying to identify suitable such states in India for focusing our efforts in coming years. So we are really looking forward to hearing thoughts of the Honorable UP Chairperson. To last, I would say that in terms of the challenges, I think there are opportunities are great, but practically the biggest challenge is a lack of clear policy framework. We need to recognize storage as a different asset class, because storage acts both as a load as well as a generation. There are certain challenges related to net metering, where even the renewable energy industry needs to understand that we cannot just keep on pushing for these net metering policies which are not sustainable for discoms, because ultimately when a customer is getting paid full retail tariff, he is not getting paid just for energy, but he's actually getting paid for using the transmission distribution network, which is not a viable solution for discoms. So we need to find a practical solution, and we have seen in places like Australia and Germany, wherever net metering tariffs were rationalized, that has actually created a lot more incentives for customers to deploy renewables plus storage. We need to have a transparent price signal so that we don't have these peak tariffs which are like just plus minus 30 paise or 50 paise, but we need to make sure that whatever is a marginal cost of peak load or excess generation, that needs to be communicated to the customers so that they can again have a right incentive for doing this. So overall, we think the policy has slowly but steadily evolving over the last 5 years. We are seeing tremendous cost reduction potential in this area. Already in last 10 years, almost 9 to 10x price has reduced at a cell level prices. And it is not the only part where cost savings will come up. As we deploy more technologies, as we learn about how these technologies are being used, there are a lot more savings which can come from optimizing of the systems, the installation, and then extending life of these systems, where the levelized costs will fall much faster. So we need to get on with the deployment as soon as possible. We cannot just keep on waiting for the capital cost to come down. Otherwise, we are going to miss out on almost 50% of the savings which are possible and leave the entire market to companies who are coming from outside. RE plus storage has already demonstrated that it can compete with peaker plants. The recent SECI tender where Renew Power has won a bid for wind solar plus storage is a great example. But this is just a start. We don't think this is just one-off bid. We are seeing that in coming years, actually RE plus storage can start competing not just with peaker plants, but also with intermediate plants. And ultimately, in next 5 to 7 years, they can also start competing with baseload plants. We have set a vision that we would like to have India to be a hub for not just deployment, but R&D and manufacturing of advanced energy storage system. And with all of your support, I'm sure we can reach there. So with this, I would like to end my opening remarks. If you want to know more about IESA, you can visit IESA website or read through our magazines, which is Emerging Tech News, or feel free to reach to us. My email address is there on the presentation.